Welcome to the Bougie Baldie Podcast with your host, Kelly Rhymes.
Hi, you guys, and welcome back to the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Lisa Feveck. She is a corporate menopause wellness coach. She works with menopausal women who are struggling to get relief. She specializes in holistic solutions that support women through all stages of menopause, especially for those who choose not to or cannot use traditional medications or HRT. And I'm sure she'll explain that to us. Navigating this complex phase of life requires more than just medical guidance. It demands a holistic and personalized approach that truly supports you along your journey. As a dietitian and a coach currently navigating her own menopausal journey, she is on a mission to empower women dealing with this profound physical, mental, and emotional changes that accompany this life stage. Having personally experienced the feelings of isolation and confusion, she recognizes the crucial need for support during this transformative time. Welcome, Lisa, to the Bougie Baldie Podcast. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I am good. I'm good. Today's a good day.
Good, good, good. All right. Well, I brought Lisa on the show because I want her to talk about the relationship between menopause and hair loss because there is a link between the two, right? So, Lisa, let's go ahead and jump into it. And I have some questions here in front of me. I'm just going to ask them. And if you want to elaborate more on anything, please feel free to do so, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of understand some of the basics.
Yeah.
Can you explain what menopause is and how it typically affects women in terms of physical and emotional health?
Yeah. So that's exactly where I was gonna start. Um, so menopause in the medical community, we like to define the things. So menopause is defined as going 12 straight months without having a menstrual cycle, without seeing your period. So if you're in that 11th month and you get your period, you have to
Mhm.
start that count all over from day one. So it must be
Okay.
12 straight months. The
Wow.
period before those 12 months, we call it perimenopause. That could last anywhere from 3 to 15 years. That's the time most women find the most upheaval, the most physical, mental, and emotional symptoms come for them. The 12 months pass, and then we say you're in menopause for one day after those 12 months. And the next day after that, until the rest of your life, so until you die,
Mhm.
you're in post-menopause. It
Oh,
doesn't mean that you'll experience symptoms until you die, but
mhm.
just as a classification, you're in post-menopause.
So
But
menopause only
sorry,
lasts
go ahead.
one day?
Yeah, by
Oh,
definition.
learn something new every day, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I talk about a menopausal journey instead of breaking it up, because some of the research is still misleading. So yes, most women will experience the most amount of symptoms during the perimenopausal years, just because the hormones are fluctuating and dropping at the same time.
Okay.
And yes, in post-menopause, things tend to sort of even out. Your body tries to get back to normal. But many women, including myself, still have menopausal symptoms, the hot flashes, the night sweats, all of those symptoms, and you could have them up until 80. So there's no defined thing, okay, by 80, everything will be good. No, for every woman is different. Every journey is unique. And there are actually over 100 symptoms you can experience along a menopausal journey. So you could start off like myself. I started in my 30s. I didn't start with hot flashes, didn't have the night sweats. I actually started with hair loss. So that's why I got really attracted when I heard your podcast. Started with hair loss, a random terrible toothache that would just come and go,
Okay.
and urination at night. So three seemingly unrelated symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all under menopause. But back then, we didn't have the research, and many doctors still wouldn't relate it to menopause. So I got prescriptions for each one. And then as I went along, I got things like heart palpitations and anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
Again, nobody related it to menopause, and I kept getting prescriptions for each thing. And that's what makes this so difficult to diagnose. Because if there are over 100 symptoms and you're not presenting with hot flashes, and you're not in the traditional age of around 45, where the books will say that's when usually menopause starts,
Mm-hmm.
most doctors wouldn't know how to diagnose you and will just start treating you for symptoms, but not the underlying cause.
Okay. Okay. Now, I started learning about perimenopause actually from you. You guys, I actually met Lisa on LinkedIn. She does live events and she talks about these things. And
Mhm.
I learned quite a bit. I actually realized just from listening to a few of her events that I think I might be in perimenopause because some of the symptoms that she explained, I'm like, I'm experiencing those things. And now that when you just said that hair loss is a part of it and it can start in your early 30s, I'm like, I'm wondering if that was a part of what I was going through as well. Because, like
Yeah,
you said, that was nothing that I thought about. That was
mhm,
never a direct link in my mind that, oh,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
could be going through perimenopause at 30 something years old, like.
Mhm.
So I am glad you are here to bring this awareness to everyone because there are so many different symptoms that we can have, and we just do
Oh,
not
yes.
know what they are linked
Yeah.
to. So, can you tell me how does menopause specifically impact hair health? And can you explain the biological maybe mechanisms behind the hair loss during the phase?
So we're not exactly sure for a lot of these symptoms why, but what we do know is that, well, there are three hormones that are mainly responsible for your symptoms. So when estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, to a lesser extent, starts to drop, then we start seeing these symptoms. But the most important hormone is the estrogen.
Okay.
Estrogen controls a lot of your body's functions. So hormones are chemical messengers that send messages, to different parts of the body to tell that part of the body what to do. So let me explain this in terms of blood sugar, because that's usually a better way for people to see it in their heads.
Okay.
So you eat food, it breaks down in the stomach, goes into the intestine, and blood sugar is released into the blood. That's supposed to happen. Your body recognizes, okay, blood sugar is being released. Let me release insulin. That's the chemical messenger related to sugar. So insulin is released and it goes around the body, telling the body and telling each cell. So it's not just an organ, it's each cell. Each cell will get a message saying, hey, we have sugar now. If you need sugar, take up the sugar. On
Okay.
each cell is something called a hormone receptor. And each hormone will have a receptor. So each receptor is like a lock and key mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So the insulin is like the key, and each cell will have a lock, a receptor that the key fits into. So if the cell needs insulin, it will have an insulin receptor. If it needs estrogen, so estrogen is another messenger, it will have an estrogen receptor.
Mm-hmm.
So that insulin fits into the receptor. So the lock and key mechanism works, it opens, and the cell is able to take up that sugar to do whatever work it needs to. Along your entire body are estrogen receptors. So each part of your body will have a receptor for the estrogen to fit into to tell that body part, those cells, what to do.
Okay.
So if I have, let's say, 1,000 estrogen receptors, and of course it's millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
1,000 estrogen receptors, but my estrogen starts dropping. So it went from 1,000 to 500. You realize all those receptors are not going to receive the message it needs to tell it how to operate properly.
Right.
And in perimenopause, because it's not just dropping in a straight line, it's fluctuating. So how I describe it is, think of waves in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And the shore is when you reach postmenopause. So out in the ocean, you have big waves, big troughs, right? So it's highs and lows,
Uh-huh.
right? So that's your perimenopausal phase. That's the phase where some days you feel great, some days feel like crap. Nothing is working, right? Lots of symptoms. It's because the estrogen is some days it's high levels, some days it's really low levels.
Mm-hmm.
As you come closer to the shore, those waves get smaller and smaller. So the upheaval becomes less and less, which means the way you experience menopause is less and less distress.
Okay.
And by the time you reach postmenopause, by the time you reach shore, no more estrogen really, but you don't have these symptoms as well.
Got it. Got it.
Right?
That
So
was a great example. Go ahead.
I like to, well, that's my superpower. I take difficult topics and I break it down simply because I want you to see a picture in your head. And if you
Mhm.
see the picture, you understand it and you can explain it to other people. So just
Right.
imagine along your whole body. So from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, you have estrogen receptors along that way. So when it comes to that hair loss, if it's not getting the right messages to grow properly and to take up whatever nutrients it needs at the base,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have hair loss, you're gonna have dry, brittle hair, you're gonna have itchy scalp, you could have rashes, hair could be breaking. So you could have a number of things that will go wrong. So what I
Okay.
tell clients is that just imagine, so just start at the top of your head and go down. Anything and everything that could go wrong with that body part can happen in menopause.
Mm.
All your joints pain, muscle pain, digestive issues, hair loss, frequent urination, loss of libido, and as the physical, so you can have emotional and mental symptoms as well, the anxiety, depression, panic attacks, not feeling to be close to your partner,
Mm-hmm.
not to want to socialize anymore, brain fog, forgetfulness, not remembering how to drive to work, although you've done it every day, not
Mm.
remembering people's names, so things that you do every day that came naturally all of a sudden. And not just that, your risk for disease shoots up. So
Okay.
uncontrolled blood sugars that lead to diabetes, uncontrolled blood pressures that lead to high blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
your risk for cardiovascular disease. Before menopause, a man's risk is higher than a woman's. As soon as you enter into that menopausal journey, your risk for heart disease shoots up.
Oh,
So of
okay.
great concern, and that's where I come in. Of great concern to me, yes, the hot flashes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But women in menopause, their risk for cardiovascular disease is now higher than a man's risk. So
Okay.
that's where nutrition now comes into play. Because if my risk for heart disease goes up, then I have to control what I eat to make sure that I can control blood sugars, control cholesterol, because the hormones are causing those things without me changing my diet or anything like that. So
Right.
now I have to get a completely new plan for how I live my life.
Okay. Okay. So there was a lot I want to kind of unpack in that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about some of the symptoms
Yeah.
regarding the hair loss, the brittle hair, the rashes, and things like that. So those are maybe some things that women should look out for. Now, it doesn't mean that you have like an alopecia or something that's
No.
very dramatic. But if you see those signs and you are maybe in the perimenopausal age group to menopausal age group,
Yeah.
those are some things you definitely want to pay attention
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And make sure you get it checked out just to make sure it's nothing more than menopause. And if it is menopause, then what can you do to relieve those issues? How do you
And
resolve those issues, right?
yeah, and as you mentioned that there's no blood test to tell that you're in menopause.
Okay.
So doing a blood test when you're in perimenopause doesn't make sense because again, I talked about highs and lows. So if you go on a
Mhm.
day that you're on a high, which a lot of women do, and it comes back saying everything is normal, you don't get an answer because you went on a day when it's high. So we do a test of elimination. As you said, we make sure nothing else is wrong with you.
Mhm.
And what we say is, okay, we wait until those 12 months pass where you don't have a menstrual cycle. Of course, we test to make sure nothing else is wrong. So it's not fibroids or something else causing your menstrual
Right.
cycle to stop. But it's only after you cross those 12 months that then we can check your hormone levels to make sure and say definitely yes, okay, it's menopause. But if
Okay.
in perimenopause, doing that test, and I see a lot of home tests as well coming out,
Mm-hmm.
you're really kind of wasting your money because you can't be testing on a day that you're high. So what we do is check symptoms. If you're also having menstrual issues, and sort of put the two together and say, okay, yeah, it looks like it's menopause. But then again, if it's 100 symptoms, over 100, and your doctors aren't familiar with all these symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the issue. So they start treating things other than menopause. So it's a complicated issue, but that's why working with someone who's trained in it can help.
Right, right. So can this be linked like to genetics? Like, I mean, I
Mhm.
guess how much of an impact does maybe your lifestyle choices or
Yeah.
genetics kind of play into the hair loss and menopause? Is it even related, or is it just that it can just happen to anybody regardless? Like if my grandmother or mother started experiencing hair loss and menopause, like would that pass down to me, or it doesn't
Mhm.
even matter?
So genetics does play a part. Unfortunately, we don't know how much because
Okay.
the research right now is mostly on white populations. What
Mhm.
we can say for sure is that Black populations experience menopause at an earlier age.
Okay.
As a general, if you're looking at white versus Black populations, Black women experience menopause earlier. So keep that in mind when you're going to your doctor to check to see if you're in menopause.
Okay.
Yes, I can look at what my mother's experience was or my grandmother's experience, even aunts.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean I'll have the same experience. And that's another issue why it's so confusing. Because, for example, my mom, I remember her having the memory loss
Mm-hmm.
because she would forget like the stove on. And we were like, mommy, what's wrong with you? You're losing your mind. Not
Mm-hmm.
realizing, okay, memory loss is a part of it. I remember her having hot flashes, but that's about all I remember.
Okay.
I know I'm having a totally different experience to her,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm having more symptoms. So, yes, we look at it, we look at family history, but would it mean that if your mother had one experience, you'll have the same thing? Absolutely not.
Okay, okay. But I guess could it be good to just at least sit down with if your mother, grandmother, whomever is still around and
Yes,
just have the conversations, because I don't think women do that enough. And I know in my
yes,
family we don't. Like I think it would be good to just sit down at the table and like, "Hey, what was your experience? Because this is what's happening with me." And if
yes,
you don't have anyone to talk to who's been through it, then it's kind
yes.
of like, okay, you just lost until we find people like you who can help us. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this sounds familiar.
Mhm.
I'm having these symptoms. Let me listen to Lisa and, work with Lisa on this. But it would be
Yeah,
good for women to sit down and really talk about it.
exactly. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do. So if you're hearing the accent, I'm from the Caribbean, right? Trinidad and
Hmm.
Tobago. In
Hmm.
the Caribbean, it's still very taboo to talk about women's health issues. So menopause is not something we talk about. It's
Okay.
only now within the last maybe 3 years, the conversation is really coming to the forefront.
Hmm.
And that's a lot to do with the research the UK is really pushing. You see now Hollywood celebrities are now talking about their experience with
Yep.
menopause and writing books and stuff. So that is always helpful. It's always helpful when you have that conversation always going around social media and stuff. But
Yes.
yeah, it's always good to know what your familial experience is. It's a good place to start. It's a good bonding experience. And I would also encourage women to include their children in the conversation. The
Oh,
same
yeah.
way we sit and talk about puberty and what to expect when you have your first menstrual cycle, include them in the conversations from now, especially if your child is going through puberty and you're going through menopause.
Hmm.
That could be a really challenging time for the household. So
Right.
not just include your girl children, your boy children as well, to know, okay, when mommy is going through this, what to expect, how you could support me, how you could support your sister, So it's good to have these conversations. A lot of times I tell my clients, so there's a couple of clients that when they come home from work, they needed some space because
Hmm.
they were bringing home work issues on top of menopause. And I
Hmm.
told them, look, get some sort of password. So if you text pineapple to your family, they know, okay, When mommy comes through the door, give her an hour. Don't
Yeah.
ask her for anything. Just, it's not about you. She just needs time to decompress and de-stress and just get back to a place of normalcy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if
That's
you
a good
need them,
idea.
yeah, and if you need them to wash something or chop something, however you need them to support, let the conversation be where they are asking you and you are telling them. Be open about it because you don't live in a bubble. So
Mm-hmm.
talk to your friends, talk to your coworkers, especially if your coworkers are all women around the same age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, work in a company and all of us are around 40s and 50s and we're all going through menopause.
Right.
So these are the conversations we need to start having so that people know how to support us.
Okay. Now you also hinted on nutrition, and I'm not going to dive too deep into nutrition because I know I'm going to do another video specifically about nutrition and hair loss. But can you touch on nutrition, menopause, hair loss, and kind of how that all plays together? Can you expand on it a little bit more?
Yeah. So, well, not just for menopause, but for every aspect of life, every medical condition, the place to start is with your plant foods. So my message is go more plant-based.
Okay.
You wouldn't hear me say go vegan or go organic or anything like that, or cut out or, not eat the certain things. Those are your choices.
Mm-hmm.
But go more plant-based. And when I say plant-based, I mean focus on your fruits, vegetables, peas, beans, nuts, seeds, and your whole grains.
Okay.
Those are the foods that are going to support you with whatever condition you have, including hair loss. So you will need things like more protein, more magnesium, more zinc. Instead of stressing yourself out to figure out what has this vitamin and what has this and that, just focus on eating more fruits, more vegetables, and eat your colors. So you have 5 colors, red. The red and pink is one group. The one purple is another group. Your green group, your yellow and orange is another group. And then the last group is your white, your tan, your brown colors.
Okay.
Each color group has very unique vitamins and minerals specific to that group in higher quantities. So if you eat all 5, you're covering all of the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, etc., etc.
Okay.
These foods, so you start with those first. Then you focus on your peas, beans, nuts, and seeds, especially your seeds. They're cheaper. You get them all over the place. So your pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, ground flaxseed, and make sure to have the ground ones. You don't absorb from the whole seeds. Hemp seeds, sesame seeds. So all seeds, because you get protein, omega-3s, more vitamins and minerals that your hair needs.
Okay.
So, and then with your whole grains, so I'm talking like brown rice, whole grain pasta, whole grain breads, oats, provisions, those sort of things. And those foods you need energy from. You need energy for your body to do what it needs to do, including grow your hair. Yes, your hair might be dead, but your scalp is alive, right? And you need foods for that.
Right.
If you focus more on those foods, it will help your body do what it's naturally supposed to do, including grow your hair better. Of course, there are other things that go into it, making sure your scalp is clean and hair, so I'm sure you could speak to us about that as well. But when it comes to the nutrition part, focus on plant-based foods and increase that. So if I never had fruits and vegetables before, start with a stir fry. Start with something cooked. So don't go into raw because that's where people get constipation and stuff like that. Right?
And it's a struggle.
Right? If I'm making a stew, can I add vegetables there?
Yeah.
If I want a snack, can I include a fruit and some nuts? If I'm making rice, can I throw vegetables in there? Right? So every time you're making a dish, ask yourself, how can I add a plant-based food here? If I'm having a snack, even if I want a piece of chocolate, okay, I could have some dark chocolate, but I could have some nuts or seeds with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally I am trying to continue. I've been doing this, but continue to incorporate, like you said, more plant-based and making better decisions. And I
Yeah.
don't think I make horrible decisions around food, but definitely, I think just in general, as we get older, we
Hmm.
just have to make different decisions and have
Definitely.
more fruits and vegetables and nuts and
Hmm.
things like that because our bodies just operate better. And I think
Yeah.
I know for me, I pay attention to my body more as I get older. So when you
Yes.
feel like, oh, after I eat
Hmm.
this or after I do this, my body feels like, so much better or so much lighter,
Yeah.
then you want to keep doing those things. And I agree, just those small things. Like instead of getting some, ice cream as a snack, maybe make some power balls, and those are
Yeah.
still healthy and they're sweet and different. So
Hmm.
just making different choices really that does help. And I'm on that road. So
Yeah, and I
I'm
like how
gonna
you put it
continue.
as different choices and just making small choices.
Hmm.
So if I come home from work and it was a really, really hard day and I'm really frustrated, and if the only thing that will help me get through that moment is a scoop of ice cream,
Hmm.
have the ice cream.
Right.
And don't stress about it. Oh my God, I'm going to gain this weight and I didn't eat healthy. And have the ice cream, sit and enjoy it.
Yes.
Enjoy the taste of it in your mouth, and because it really goes to that positive mindset,
Hmm.
reducing your stress. And it's been proven that the more you reduce your stress and have a more positive mindset, the way you experience those menopausal symptoms are different.
Yes.
This
Yes.
depression and the anxiety, the amount of times you have those episodes are less.
Okay.
So if you need the ice cream, have the ice cream. But the next time, make a different choice.
Yes.
Chop up some fruit, add some nuts, make a yogurt parfait. So you get plain Greek yogurt and you layer fruits and you layer nuts. So it doesn't have to just be plain fruits. And this
Right.
is why I love the University of YouTube, because I could put in anything and I will get a recipe for it. Healthy recipes with fruits and I will get it.
Yep.
Ways to cook vegetables and I will get it. So this is the time to be curious, to be open, to be adventurous, because yes, we're stressed and menopause is a lot, but it's not just eating for nutrients, it's eating for a better quality of life.
Okay.
So find ways to make it easy, make it simple, and work it into your lifestyle.
Well, I can tell you it is something being a woman. Not only do we have to think about menopause, we have to think about the things that come along with it, all
Oh
of the
God, yeah.
symptoms, the
Fun
hair
times,
loss, the
right?
diet, the exercise. Ah, it's
And taking care
a
of children and your partner and aging
lot.
parents and work. It's a
Ex-
whole lot. It's a whole lot. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. So I know you mentioned that there aren't any tests or things like that for like perimenopause, and that's when you experience a lot of the symptoms.
Yeah.
But if women are, let's just say they realize that their hair loss is contributed to menopause, like it's a link there.
Mhm.
Are there any treatments or is there anything they can do besides diet, or is diet going to be the only option to help with that hair loss?
Well, I wouldn't say that there's no test. I would just say those tests aren't reliable
Okay.
because you don't know when your estrogen levels are high or low. You can't tell.
Okay.
So I think it's wasting time and money going to do a test for that.
Okay.
But certainly, what as with everything else, diet isn't the only thing. Physical activity is important. Doing a mix of cardio and strength training,
Mm-hmm.
because your body doesn't identify, okay, I'm losing here, I'm just going to do stuff for here, or I'm gaining weight, I'm just going to do stuff for... It's a holistic approach.
Okay.
So what you're doing for one body part, you're doing for every part of you. And your body will sort of figure out where it needs the nutrients. So if I
Got
give
it.
my body enough nutrients, it will send it where it needs it. Doing physical activity, that strength training, that cardio, and that relaxation period as well to reduce stress.
Mm-hmm.
Because stress is a contributing factor to hair loss. So
Yeah.
finding ways to reduce stress, whether it's meditation, whether it's a hot shower, whether it's reading, whether it's journaling. So you find something that works for you, gardening, dancing, whatever it is, whatever brings you joy, do more of it.
So those holistic approaches
Yeah.
are very, very good. Those are simple things that we can do at any point of time
Yeah.
ourselves. It doesn't cost any money, but just making sure you take some of those approaches that Lisa just gave and implement them in your life in general, because it's going to
Yeah.
help regardless of what's happening. Even if you're not experiencing menopause, or you may just have a little bit of hair loss because of stress or something like that,
Yeah.
those holistic approaches will help. So really take that to heed and pay attention to that, because I mean that
Yeah.
will make a world of difference.
Yeah. And if
Lisa,
you do have it where you need support, get that support. Go to a dermatologist, go to a skin specialist, a hair specialist, whatever it is you're experiencing, seek that support, because they have now other methods by prescription that you don't have available to you over the counter that can support you.
okay.
Right. So if it's here, talk to KELLIE, because she has that experience. She
Mm-hmm.
can point you in different directions, So I think women, we suffer silently. We take care of everybody else and put ourselves last.
Yeah.
And it's only when we can't take it anymore and we're struggling, and that's when we look for help. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, no, if you need that support and to bring back that quality of life, get it early. So you deal with it early. You get the tools you need to deal with it early, so that you can now go and live your life in the way you want to.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Lisa, tell everybody everything that you do, how you support people, and how they can find you.
So you can find me on most of these social media platforms. I like to share information and recipes and things like that. I am on LinkedIn, so that's how we connected.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a show every other Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, talking about some aspect of menopause, and not just the nutritional aspect, because like this month we did goal setting. Next week, we're talking about how to manage menopause at the workplace. After that, we're talking about breathing techniques. So there are different things, and all of that affects a woman in menopause. So it's every other Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. So connect with me on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I have a newsletter as well that comes out every Wednesday. So the next one is tomorrow. Again, something on menopause. And I also have my next group coaching session starting in March the 1st. A 3-month session where we really form a community and you get that accountability and that support. And I think a lot of women will say, well, yeah, we know what to eat and we kind of generally know what exercise and stuff, but we don't do it. Why? Because you don't have that support.
Mm-hmm.
And I am there literally every day texting you, did you do this? Did you do that? Are you remembering this? Giving you those tools, giving you that support, giving you different coaching as well. So it's not just me, I bring in different coaches on different aspects so that you really get that holistic support that we're always talking about. Right. So
Okay.
I really sort of practice what I'm preaching.
Good. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. We a lot of us talk it, but few of us actually do it, right? So yeah.
Right, right. Well, and I'm gonna make sure I put Lisa's information, the links, all of the stuff in the description of this episode, so that you guys can just click on it and go and see what she has going on. Check out her live events on LinkedIn, her
Yeah.
program, her group program that's going to be coming up. You guys can get that information. So that will be in the description. Now, Lisa, are there any final words, final pieces of advice for any women out there who are experiencing hair loss and maybe in that age of perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause? Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up today?
To give yourself some grace, especially when it comes to hair loss. I get it, because combing your hair and seeing clumps of hair leaving, I know how that can affect you from a personal level, right? Your confidence goes, you're wondering if it's something more serious, maybe it's cancer, so that now you start to get scared and you have all these questions. Take a breath sometimes and just love yourself. Even if you have to wear a wig, or even if you have to go bald, or whatever it is, whatever your new normal is, just love yourself, but also support yourself in this new phase of life.
Mhm.
Menopause is a totally different chapter. You can't go back to what you were doing in 20s and 30s. So really love yourself, give yourself a good nutrition, do some sort of physical activity. And if you need support, get it. Don't suffer silently. Don't stay and your friends aren't talking about it and you aren't talking about it. No, get that support and really bring back what you think your quality of life should be.
Yes. And that was great advice because there are so many people out here now that can support in all different aspects of life,
Oh,
right?
definitely,
You're
especially on LinkedIn. You have a coach for
especially.
everything. Yeah.
Yes, yes, you're
Yeah.
covering menopause and diet. I'm covering hair loss. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. If you need the support, we're out here.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Just reach
here.
out. Just reach
It's-
out. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for being on the show today. I
Of course.
appreciate all of the information. You are a wealth of knowledge. And like I said, you guys, Lisa will probably be back to talk a little bit more about
Definitely.
nutrition and hair
Yeah.
loss. But today we wanted to just focus on the menopausal
Yeah.
part because like I said, I didn't realize, even with the ages, the perimenopause to postmenopause, like that's a big chunk of a woman's life. And
Yeah. That's from 30s till you die.
yes, yes. And so, like, this is a big thing that we just, like
Yeah.
you said, don't talk about. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure we bring awareness to it. So, thank you again. And we will see you next time on the Bougie Baldie Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe